All right, so Mark, tell us why Spink Trout in particular so sought after?
I think something like RR Spinks and Sons. I mean, that's it's a fantastic brand for me. It's one of those things that as soon as you hear it, it sort of fills you with confidence that the product you're going to get is absolutely top quality, delicious, and a product that you really want to work with.
And they farm it themselves up in Loch Etive, I believe. Have you been up to Loch Etive?
I haven't been to the loch yet, unfortunately. I'd love to go. It's always nice to actually go to the core of where the product's made, farmed, whatever. And I know they take great care, and they're very passionate about the way that they farm the fish. It's kind of, to get a good end product, you have to go all the way back through to the specific things, and starting with a great, beautifully farmed trout is how you're going to end up with a beautifully finished smoked product at the end. I quite like rainbow trout, small ones, in terms of flavour of that earthiness, but they don't lend themselves particularly well to smoking, so you need to start with a really nice, beautiful sea trout.
And what makes RR Spink Trout in particular? I mean, what makes it such a quality product? Is it the texture of the flesh? Is it provenance? Is it the lack of artificial ingredients? What for you as a chef makes it work?
Well, I mean, RR Spinks, as I said, it sums up quality. So you know from the way the fish are reared, treated and farmed, the clarity and cleanliness of the water that they use, they're bred in, the feed that they have, all the way through to the way that they're salted and then smoked beautifully. It's just one of those things that to make a good recipe, you have to go back and start with great ingredients. So provenance is key. You're absolutely right. That's the word you said about the provenance of it all, and the quality of the water that they live in. Every single little aspect is absolutely integral to the finished product.
Well, can you tell us the difference between? I think most smoked fish, which people are used to eating, is cold smoked. But I believe RR Spinks also do hot smoked trout. Can you tell us the difference between the two?
Yeah, it's very interesting, the difference between hot and cold smoking. Usually things like when you buy the smoked mackerel fillets in supermarkets or from your fishmongers, they're generally, they've been hot smoked. So what that means is it's actually fully cooked all the way through, so you can eat it straight away without having to cook it. The cold smoking process, you can eat it straight away as well, but it doesn't cook the fish texture. So to explain that, cold smoking is a very cold smoke. It sounds silly, but it's true. So it's over a long process. So that would be what you're usually associating with your classic smoked salmon sort of thing. So you'd slice it, and it would be a really lovely kind of like waxy texture. You know, that thing you normally associate with the sides of cold smoked salmon. Hot smoking gives you a very different texture. That's where you get the more kind of crumbly, fully cooked fish, and they're both great for different uses as well.
Yeah. And then specifically from a chef's point of view, why do you like to work with Spink Trout?
Well, from my point of view as a chef and running restaurants, for me it has to be about quality to start with. Okay, so RR Spinks is a great quality product. So whether I'm using the cold smoked trout or the hot smoked trout, I know to start off with I've got a brilliant product. And actually, you need to do very little with it. Starting with that product on its own, just with a little bit of lemon juice or something like that, it's just a beautiful product to eat.
How long have you worked in kitchens now? Is it 25 years, longer than that? Is it?
I haven't worked for 25 years, not yet. I know I look older than I do. But, no, I've been cooking professionally for around about 21 years now. It seems like a million years ago when I first started. I did 13 years with Gordon Ramsey, running various places for him. And for the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I've moved out of the kitchens much more into becoming more of a restaurateur. I don't really like that word, but it kind of explains what I do. So opening and running restaurants, but always from a chef's point of view. So for me, the integral part of any restaurant is you go there to eat, but there's so much more to it in terms of service, decor, all that kind of stuff, which is very important.
And was that a big sort of transition of, I mean, not just, it must have been a huge learning curve going from the kitchen to essentially front of house, or not even front of house, you're running the whole caboodle. That must have been a...
Yeah, I mean, as a chef, you're always learning things, I wanted to learn more about business side of things. There's so much more to running restaurants than just being in the kitchen every day. You need to worry about P&L sheets and all that kind of stuff, and it's a very interesting next step. But also, I think, if you're in the kitchen, there's very little else you can do. So I like to obviously spread my wings, and open sort of 3, 4, 5 restaurants, being able to do work like this, obviously for RR Spinks and things. So it's a nice next move for me.
Of course. And if the 21-year-old Mark Sargeant had been suddenly transported to see your restaurant in Folkestone now, what do you think would have been the biggest difference? What do you think he would have noticed most, or what would have struck him most?
The 21-year-old Mark Sargeant, God, I can't even remember what he was like. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, for starters, I never would have thought I'd have a restaurant in Folkestone. I always assumed I'd be in London forever, but these opportunities sort of arise. And also I think when you grow older, you're much more about simplicity. So at 21, 22, I was all about like Michelin stars and fine dining and Marco Pierre White, Gordon Ramsey, all this sort of thing. Whereas now I'm nearly 42, believe it or not, and it's all about simplicity. It's about how good your ingredients are and doing very little to them to showcase their quality. So the food I cook now, or the food that I have in my restaurants now, is a million miles away from what I would have wanted to do at 21, 22 years old, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think, obviously you've got a background in high-end Michelin-style restaurants. Do you think people still want that level of technical skill, that level of cooking, but perhaps without the kind of paraphernalia that goes, that's often assumed goes with it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Michelin stars, it's such a wide umbrella now. For me, it should always be about the quality of the food that you're cooking, always, and obviously the how it's served and the environment you're in. I think, going back sort of 10, 15 years ago, our expectations of food were slightly different. Whereas now we're so used to having good, great food wherever we go. The UK's a brilliant place to eat in this day and age, and it's taken sort of 20, 25 years to get back to where we were. And I think people are more interested now in the quality of the produce, the provenance. It's all about seasonality now, obviously. And I'd much rather have a really beautifully cooked piece of fish or a lovely, good quality, well-cooked steak with a couple of nice garnishes than smears of purees on the plate and foams and jellies and all that sort of thing. There is a place for high-end kind of sci-fi food, as I call it, and I really appreciate and understand the level of technique that goes into that. But I think generally people now are more interested in just good quality, great provenance ingredients, just very simply cooked, and in a nice environment with great service.
Yeah. And I was also thinking the public are now buying more cookbooks. The TV schedules are absolutely filled with cookery programmes. As a nation, we seem a lot more interested in food. Do you think that's translated into the general public being better cooks and more knowledgeable? What do you think they're...
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame in this country because, I mean, if you go back, we were a nation of great food. I mean, really it was down to having 2 world wars that actually, stopped our food heritage. First World War killed most of the farmers, and then the Second World War sort of finished off the rest, and then up until 1956 we were still on rations, which is quite incredible, really. And then the 60s was all about kind of the baby boom, and then the 70s everyone was working hard, convenience food, supermarkets came up to deal with the population increase and all that sort of thing. And then the 80s again, it was all about working really hard and not having any time. So really, and the family meal went under, and all the kind of the steakhouses and poor quality eateries sort of came about. And it wasn't until really kind of the mid to end of the 90s that we sort of thought, hold on a minute, what's happened here? This is crazy. And then obviously through the 2000s and moving forward, we've really kind of rediscovered our kind of passion for food. And you can't move without seeing a TV show. Unfortunately, there's not one of mine yet. But you can't really. Saturday mornings used to be about going live, and Tiz was, and now it's about food programmes, which is a great thing, especially in my career. People always need to eat if you celebrate and all that sort of thing. So it's great. Most people now always cook at home at least a couple of times a week. As soon as you tell someone you're a chef, they're really interested in asking you questions about food and recipes and all this sort of thing. We are a total foodie nation again, which is brilliant.